Cloudy Audette, joined by Andy Serling. And boy, what a day it was yesterday. It was a fantastic card. Obviously, the Mucho Macho Man, awesome speed, was very impressive. And also a very good day for Joel Rosario, actually bagging 5 winners on yesterday's card.
It was really nice for a horse from Maryland to come down here and win a stake for you. It really was a special moment for all of us. It was a great card. I agree. And Joel was riding sensationally. I mean, he didn't win 5 by accident. And you have to be on the right horses, obviously, to win a lot of races. And a lot of that has to do with the job the agent does. But in this case, Joel really did his job.
And Life Intimidates Art was actually one of them that I thought was one of the more impressive rides as well. He got into position early and just kind of, I thought he made a winning move kind of on the backstretch that was all the difference in that particular race.
I agree with Life Imitates Art. He really did get the good position, as you say. He got into position on the backstretch. And then as a horse can be a little bit of a tendency to lug in, getting the inside probably helped him a little bit there, and Joel did a good job getting him going.
Well, taking a look at today's card as well, we have 11 races on tap and an early post of 12:05 p.m. We'll take a look at our carryovers as well. In race 1, we do have a carryover in that rolling super high 5, just over $5,000, so dive in early, as well as the early pick 5 does start in today's first race as well. We'll take a look at race 6, starts at 20 cent, Rainbow Pick 6, and that carryover continues to grow just shy of $120,000. And in race 7, the 50 set and late pick 5 as well. And you get to the Rainbow 6, and of course, when the pool continues to grow higher and higher, you obviously get more people playing, and it gets harder and harder to hit once obviously you get more people playing it.
Absolutely.
We'll take a look at the sequence as well, the multi-race sequences. I believe you have a ticket, once again, that rolling super high 5 in today's first race. We do have a carryover of over $5,000. So talk us through your ticket here, Andy.
This is on the pick 5, the early pick 5. I'm going to try to get the pain over with early. I'm going to single the heavy favorite in the first race. And I realize Indian Brute at 1 for 11 with 8 seconds and thirds, a little bit of a dicey proposition. He's so much better than these horses, and I love the switch to Javiero. I think we'll get him into better position, though he's ridden him before. We'll go 3 horses in the second, 3 in the third, 4 in the fourth, and 3 in the fifth, and we'll go through those races in just a few seconds.
Okay, we'll talk about the 2 Indian Brute and taking a look at his most recent replay. That was on the 21st of November at Aqueduct over a yielding course and just narrowly defeated as the favorite behind a gate-to-wire winner.
Yeah, McKagan is a very dangerous horse in the lead, and he was allowed, as seems to happen too frequently, to control the race in the front end. And I don't think this was Kenneth Carmouche's really his fault that he fell farther behind with Indian Brute, who used to have so much speed. I don't understand why he can't keep closer, but he seems to have not been very strong out of the gate. We'll see if Javier can get him motivated and get him more into the game, but he had a good trip behind that horse, but it was just very hard to catch him on the front end when he was able to steal away like that. And at that time, the turf course at Aqueduct had been very kind to speed, and it helped McKagan. And McKagan might be the horse to beat in this race anyway. And I thought that Gustinado, who was one of the main contenders in here, he just has so little speed that I figured that it would be hard for him to catch Indian Brute.
And looking at Indian Brute, too, I agree with you. It's kind of unusually farther back off the pace, but drawn that rail post position now today and short run into the first turn, I do think that Javier is going to get this horse into a nice early position, especially kind of with a shorter field as well. So I would expect him to be a little bit closer to the pace today. I think he's going to be the horse to beat, but Gustinado, this is a horse who, again, we were talking about one particular horse on yesterday's program. I can't remember the name, but coming out of a really solid performance over the good going at Churchill.
That was Brendan Walsh's horse in the stake race.
And it was a one at first asking and ran very well over a good going. And the one thing that I take from this horse's races, especially in the past two, it almost looked as if he improved over that type of course. And how will he transition coming to a very different, very firm course here at Gulfstream?
That's fair enough, though I thought his race in Saratoga when the course was very hard on September 5th was actually good enough to give him a chance. And he's not good enough to beat Indian Brute. I think it's really a question of whether or not you trust Indian Brute. And if you don't, then you're playing against him and you're going to get a price on a horse. If you do, you just assume he's going to win, which is sort of where I'm trying to lean, because I don't know where else to go. You've got Golden Rivet second. Obviously, you hope this horse has the speed to be in a good position early.
Yeah, first off the claim for Patricia Farrow. And we see a barn like this who has horses like Bold Thunder. Sometimes they train horses to be very fast. And I think this horse has enough natural speed to be close early. And they could just get aggressive and try to go to the lead. He's a multiple winner at this distance. He's a multiple winner at Gulfstream. And I just thought he was a horse that figures for a good barn.
All right.
We'll take a look at race 2, an open $6,250,000 claimer onto the one-turn mile on the main track as well. And there are races on here that you just have to shop for prices. I think with kind of these cheaper races as well, it makes them challenging to try to beat the favorite and try to find an alternative option. I land on the one Bears Reflection as my top selection here at 6-1 on the morning line. First off, the claim here, and we'll take a look at the barn and some statistics here as well with the one Bears Reflection. Again, short sample size as well, but honestly, I couldn't be ecstatic about any other horse in this race. 4 for 8, 50% win, and still a positive ROI. First off, the claim on the dirt, sprinting to routing in the past 5 years. So that's kind of the direction I'm going in, but again, a small sample size.
Yeah, the problem with this horse is, and like you said, I try to give everybody a long look in here because it is very difficult. This horse was 4-5 in his dirt debut, and they claimed him thinking, well, he was 1-5, he won big the time before that, and the public and the claim was sort of assuming he would run well. It doesn't appear to me handle the dirt at all. Now, maybe he was caught wide on a day that you did probably, I mean, I thought it was an even track. I didn't think it was an inside track. I don't think, if anything, you may were better off outside. So I don't think he was compromised by the racetrack, and it just appears to me to be a real question of whether or not he can handle the dirt.
And I'm just hoping, that is a great question that you pose. And looking at the barn as well, the previous barn, Tino Attard, is, I believe, 0 for 7, 0 for 8 with bringing horses from the Woodbine Synthetic to the main track here at Gulfstream. So I'm hoping a little bit of added distance, getting this horse involved early from the rail could maybe turn things around. I really couldn't land on anybody else. You'd opt for the 3L Nath here.
Well, one of the reasons, I mean, we're going to show a replay of the 8, Al Maluna, who's got to be one of the choices in this race. I got to see last time out. And while Al Maluna did a really good job of coming up the rail and getting it done, unless you think the track changed for the last couple of races or you think it's going to be different today, which it very well may be, in general, yeah, he saved ground, but A, he was kind of lucky he was able to be right on the rail and make that run up there. This kind of run, it's just not winning here, and drawing an outside post, the only way he's going to get the rail, and it may happen, is that he's going to drop back so far early that he'll get down to the inside, but it's hard to imagine him repeating that performance today, even though obviously he's a horse who's on my ticket I'm going to use. As far as Elnoth, you know, Gabby, I'm just taking a shot, and this horse, you obviously, and we agree with the 3 and 5, that off the claim for trainer Marcus Vitale, this horse will run better. His numbers off the claim are very strong overall. They're not as good with cheaper horses. As you say, you're just kind of, for these races, I found I was eliminating horses one by one and seeing who I got left with.
And that's exactly what I did with this race. That's why I opted for the one Bears Reflection, because I think there's room for improvement with the new connections and added distance. Again, Elnoth, though, the only problem I have with this filly is that in the past, I don't know, 6 months or so, her only win was going gate to wire in the slop. She's not going to get a sloppy track today, and she's not going to be in front.
Yeah, it does feel like this is a potential fast pace, as the 2, 5, and 7 all could contest theoretically.
All right, race 3 on the card is 16,000 non-winners, a 2 lifetime condition, 5 furlongs out on the turf course, and make the rider Jose Caraballo on the 3. Little snip, and I knew it. I knew we were going to see this race very differently. The 12 Get Air Lex should go off as their favorite on the drop in Class 4. Trainer Eddie Pliza dropping from a allowance optional claiming company at Monmouth, and yes, she very well could win, but I can't take her at a short price.
Listen, I've got her in my play. But I don't trust her either, and that's why I put her second. But you have to use her because she may just be better than these horses. And the question you have to ask yourself, is he dropping her into a spot that's just realistic for her to win, or is he dumping a horse that might be worth more money? And if you think it's the latter, then you're definitely playing against her.
And we haven't seen her since September. Now off the layoff, they're dropping her for the $16,000 tag. I think it's a little fishy, but not fishy enough to leave her off any multi-sequences here. The 6 Ghost of Anapa is the one that you'll be trying to beat the favorites with. Hasn't seen the turf in a couple of starts here, but does have some decent form on the turf.
Well, what she also has is the best career race she's ever run was her only turf sprint, where, listen, getting beaten 6 3/4 in a 5 furlong turf sprint is sometimes like getting beaten a quarter of a mile in a dirt sprint. Having said that, Katie's Kiss, who won the race, she's a graded quality turf sprinter, so she was running against significantly better horses. The figures are fast no matter what numbers you look at, and they make her very competitive in this spot, and I thought she'd be a fair enough price.
I hate maiden winners now facing winners for the first time.
Not that much.
The 3, not that much, obviously, because I still land on the 3 Little Snip here, this 4-year-old filly. And the primary purpose is because I loved her last time out. I didn't think there was a way that she was going to get beaten. She went off as the favorite that day. She drew the rail post. I loved everything about that race as well because I believe she was like my best bet of the day because she had a horrendous trip in debut. She had excuses in her second start. She finished a good second with a little bit of excuses, but behind Blame Dixie, a filly who was dropping in class, I think, maiden special weight at Saratoga. So I thought to myself, there's no way that this filly will get beaten at maiden $16,000 level, and she proved to be much the best in that event. Can she turn things around? It's not like they're stepping her up or getting aggressive after that win. There's making a lateral move against winner, so that's why I go back to her.
Okay. You're
So we'll
loyal,
see.
I'm not.
All right, well, we shall see about that. The 4 Perfect Trace I want to quickly talk about as well. I went into that race last time out with trained by Michael Trombetta and obviously new connections today. I thought it would go one of two ways. Either it would take a little bit of wind out of her sails, stretching out to the mile on the turf, but clearly she's just a one-run turf sprinter. Now she cuts back to a more preferred distance. I thought it was a good experiment by the barn, but we'll see if Reed Nagel can keep her turf sprint
She
form.
was my 4th choice.
All right, we'll go on to the 4th race, a maiden 12,500 condition, 1-turn mile on the main track, and this is another one that's kind of tough. The 4 Bella Dixie, Tyler Gaffleone gets them out, picks up the mat, actually make the corrected weight to 123 pounds. The 6 CR Destiny, an okay second last time out. Javier was aboard that time, once again aboard today. I think the one way that she could win that I kind of like her in here is that there's not a tremendous amount of speed. Last time out, she was a little bit close, and she very well could get aggressive and try to make the lead.
Boy, I didn't have her anywhere near the pace in here. I have the 3 as the main speed in this race, and it's one of the reasons I put her on top, actually. You also have a trainer stat, I think, for Terry Pompey on Dynamite Road that you may want to show, and I was kind of hoping that she'd be the speed in here, and I thought the 1 mile and a 16th race that she ran down at Tampa Bay actually was good enough to give her a chance in here, and like you said, I'm not thrilled with the 5.
I'm not thrilled with the 5 or the 6 in here, but Terry Pompey over the past 2 years, turf to dirt, maiden claimers, 4 for 17, 24%, 7 for 17 in the money, and a positive ROI as well. And yes, you look at her last race, it was a subpar performance, but it was off a layoff since February. Now, second off the layoff, she gets back to what I think is a more preferred surface. And you talk about that maiden $50,000 event on the main track at Tampa, and she was pulling against better horses. So you're right. I think she's going to be very forwardly placed.
Yeah, I think she has a chance in here. I'm going to use all of the 3, 5, 6, and 7.
Okay, we'll move on to the 5th race, and 6,259 winners, a 2 lifetime condition, onto the main track at the 1-turn mile. And this is an interesting race. The 1 Party Crasher, I like at 4-1, but the 2 Popcorn Kitten should be bet at 3-1 in here. The 5 In Excessiveness, I can't necessarily trust at 5-2 on the morning line.
Yeah, I mean, you and I obviously saw this race the same way, and I'm just going to love to get in the pick 5 alive of this race and hope that the 1, 2, 5 are good enough. I mean, it's much easier sometimes in these races to sit here and discuss the things not to like about these horses than to like, so you have to find out which ones you like more, and I totally agree about In Excessiveness. It's very hard to trust this horse. I'm not even convinced it's really a dirt horse.
I agree with you. That's why I'm trying to go against her. At least he gets back to a fast main track, which he hasn't seen in quite some time. But the 1 Party Crasher, I think there are a couple things to like about this horse. He comes out of first of all, second off the layoff since June, but more importantly, I think he comes out of a condition last time out where it was non-winners of 3 or 3-year-olds. Today, obviously, as a 4-year-old, is going against non-winners of 2, and I think this is a much easier field than when he faced last time.
I'm hoping stretching out second off layout works. The one concern I have for this horse is he may be very far back in the race, and it's a relatively fair to neutral pace in this race, but he may not really get the right racetrack. A lot of things depend on if the racetrack is different than it was earlier in the day, the last couple days.
I would imagine the pace of the race is a 9 excellent prospect to the way outside, and that's another reason why the 2 Popcorn Kitten, this is one with the blinkers on. He was so slow coming out of the gate last time out. If Edgar Zayas today can maybe give him some encouragement and come out of the gate with the blinkers on for the first time today, he broke very flat-footed. I don't think he's going to be able to get away with that again today.
Yeah, I think the 4 just for fun will probably be towards the front. And the thing was, I didn't love any of the horses that had speed, so the 5 is going to be in a good position early.
The pace just might fall back to some of these horses. With that said, races 1 through 5, we're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, we're going to go through the 20-cent Rainbow Pick 6, a carryover just shy of $120,000 this afternoon, right after this. welcome back to Gulfstream today and taking a look at the 20-cent Rainbow Pick 6. We were obviously discussing things off air. We'll take a look at the sequence here, and we have a lot of races to get through in a short amount of time, so we'll go through this ticket pretty quickly. $72 is the ticket using several horses in this maiden $25,000 event we'll get to in just a second. Just using 2 horses in race 7, the 1 Clear Status and the 8 Smart and Sensible. As we get into race 8, I'm singling on Twist and Turn for George Navarro. I think she's the pace of the race. Again, another race we'll get to later. The reason why I'm singling on her is because I like her, and you have to spread in the last race, in my opinion. It's a low-level maiden claimer. It really could go any which way. So 2, 6, 8, 11 in today's finale. So
and you've left out the winner, the
Oh.
3.
Did I?
You and I really disagree about the last race. This will be fun. We should save about 10 minutes to talk about the last race. And I think one thing we're on is the same page in this first race where
Good.
you're using 5. You want to use an awful lot of horses in this race. I think subliminally, I went to McFly because Back to the Future has been on TV so many times that McFly was burned in my brain that I just think that, like, I saw the name and I was just drawn to it. It wasn't a good maiden race he was coming out of last time, but he did show a lot of speed in that race at 7-6, and I was kind of hoping he'd be okay in this race, sitting behind the 4 Perdido Playboy early in the race. I would use all 4 of those. You've even thrown in the 8.
Yeah, I like the cutback there. The 8, now, I agree with you yesterday when we were talking about people like to see 1s. They also like to see 2s in the running lines, but that race was so slow last time. Although he was at least good enough to finish second at first asking. He draws an outside. He's one that's dangerous, but he really has to run a faster race today.
The 6 does, but he's coming out of a much faster race than the 8's coming out of. It was in a 5-horse dreadful field at 2-1 first time out, and he didn't look good enough to me at all.
Pair tie is one that I'll be using here. Javier Castellano gets the call, and I think the thing about Javier, which makes him such a great rider, is that he makes sure to put horses in a winning position at the top of the stretch. And sometimes on either a speed favoring track or not a speed favoring track, with these with these maiden claimers, you have to put them in a position to win to gain their confidence. And I'm hoping that's going to be the case here today on the cutback to the 6 furlongs. This horse has been runner-up or finishing decent thirds in the past, and I'm hoping this just makes all the difference.
I think the positive for him is that even though he has been failing to get it done and finish reasonably close, he's been a big price in those races, so it's not as though he was expected to win them.
We'll take a look at race 7 on the card. A 62.50 non-winners, a 2 lifetime condition main track, 6 furlongs, scratch the 9 private journal. And the 1 Clear Status is a horse that I'm kind of leaning towards. You land on the 2 Cool Man Walking here, but overall, I honestly thought this was a little bit of a tricky race.
Yeah, we have a trainer stat for the 1 Clear Status that I wanted to show that I thought was interesting, and he is the horse to beat. And keep in mind with trainer stats, it's not using them to tell you not to bet a horse. Occasionally you want to show bad stats for short-priced favorites, just to say to people, here's a little food for thought. We're not saying this horse can't win. That would be idiotic. We're saying here's a reason to use other horses in the race and not just lean this horse. He has dreadful numbers going turf to dirt. He's 0 for 4 with cheaper claimers. He's 2 for 37 in the sprints. This is just not. He's 33% of the board, and you look through them, and there's plenty of reasonably short prices in there. So for my money, it's something he doesn't do well on a horse that is much the horse to beat on paper.
I agree with you. He's dropping in class significantly from his lone 2 dirt tries, but again, I couldn't quite trust him either. That's why I'm not by any means singling him in the pick 6. I believe you have a pick 5 ticket, which we'll get to. Actually, now we'll throw it up now because I'm interested to see your structure of this pick 5.
Well, I'm using the 1 and 2 here. I'm wondering why Javier is still riding Cool Man Walk, and maybe there's a story. Drops down considerably in class, and frankly, I didn't like anybody else. So I'll start out with 1, 2, and then I'll use 3 and 4 and 2 and 3, and we'll go through them. We don't have a lot of time, but we'll go through those races pretty quickly.
Tony Pecoraro will show up for me one of these days, and hopefully today is the day. The 8 Smart and Sensible I'll be using here as well. We didn't throw up a stat, but just another food for thought. Turf to dirt sprinting alone. 6 for 20, so 30% win, and positive ROI $2.45, and finishes in the money 13 out of 20 times, and that's over the past 2 years as well. So I'm thinking that if this horse, he doesn't really show any main track performances, but the one thing that I do like is that he improved this horse first off the claim to get the maiden score. Last time out it was a subpar performance, but I'm hoping that he can maybe be the speed in here.
Well, he figures to be the speed, which certainly could help him in here. In reality, in fairness, maybe I should have used him because even though he ran poorly in his dirt races, they were his first 2 races, and one of them was a sloppy track where he was eased, and the other one he ran a 44 buyer, which frankly doesn't put him that far out of it here, so maybe he's naturally improved.
Okay, we'll take a look at race 8, 62.50 conditional claimer, 6 furlongs onto the main track as well. And this is a horse who, I guess I'm singling the 8 twist and turn in the pick 6. We'll take a look at our most recent replay. Or no, we're not going to.
Yeah, we're going to watch twist and turn.
We'll take a look at twist and turn here. Her last replay going gate to wire. 5-length winner last time out. I thought visually it was pretty impressive.
I don't have any major knock on it. The only thing that concerns me is that the one is a real speed, and the one has to go from the rail. And unlike this last race we're looking at where she was able to absolutely dictate around the racetrack, she may find herself in a bit more of a battle today, which could possibly soften her up. But absolutely, she's the horse to beat.
And we have seen in the past as well, I believe it might have been on Friday's card, the connections, George Navarro and Gerardo Corrales coming out of the gate. They heavily sent whatever horse that was out of the gate, dictated the pace.
Different connections.
Different
connections.
Okay, well, even so, though, he rode that horse very well, aggressively out of the gate.
He owed the public.
He did owe the public that day.
He did, but
so
know,
I can
but
see
he's
a similar
got to.
Move today.
He's got to deal. Yeah, but he has to deal with the one because the one has to go in here. The one has no choice but to go. If the one doesn't go, they should just turn out of the gate and just go back to the barn because it's the only thing that she does and really does effectively. And she has the rail. She'll be eating dirt and she'll get absolutely nothing. She may have a chance if she goes, but listen, they got to run him on the racetrack. I'm sure he'll be aggressive. In full motion, my pick here will be sitting reasonably close to that pace, but can't keep up with him. You know what? I thought the last race might be a little better than it looked at Tampa, and I thought that perhaps this horse would have a chance to come here and just sort of be a new face. It's a bit of a stab, but you've got her second as well.
I actually kind of like her in here. There's not much to work off of, but once you get to these types of conditions, there's never much to work off of, and I like the fact that she's at least naturally speedy. She's not the fastest early horse in the race, especially on the cut back to the 3/4 today, but she should be in that second flight of horses, whereas if the one goes with the 8, I think she's going to be sitting in the catbird seat.
Well, she'll be sitting in a good spot as long as they're not going too fast. We also probably both like the jockey change.
We'll take a look at race 9, a 16,000 non-winners of 2 lifetime going out to the turf course at 1 mile and a 16th. And I land on the one, Shipwreck Kelly to the inside. First off, the claim for Joe Sharp. Now, this is one of the horses that we were talking about, obviously has back turf form, is actually decently bred for the turf, gets back to the turf today. I think this is a savvy claim. But the connections decide to be very aggressive and not really step up and clash, just maintain at the $16,000 level.
Yeah, the problem with this horse, and obviously I've picked him and I think he has a real chance in here, is his dirt form prior to that turf race was pretty good. And now his dirt form's atrocious. Now, last time out, he got absolutely buried in a speed duel, which compromised his chances, but he seems like it's possible that he's badly deteriorated. I want to give him one more chance in the turf, but he was running buyers in the 70s before that turf race, and then he ran an 80, and now he's running figures in the teens.
It is a little discouraging that since the layoff since May, obviously he came back in October and he just has not found any bit of form in those past 3 starts. But it is first off the claim for sharp connections. Obviously, you get back to the turf, a more preferred distance and obviously course. If you're trying to look for other options, and now the 9 How You for George Navarro, I think this is a viable option as well.
Yeah, we'll take a look at How You's win 2 races back. And How You, this is another situation. We're going to show you actually a trainer stat after we show you this replay where this is the horse to beat. You got to use it in the multis. I'm sure it's on your pick 6 ticket. It's clearly on one of 4 I've used. I used 1459 in my pick 5 here. Why is he just giving up on this horse so readily? Is it just to win a race that's not that good? We're going to show you a stat for him, dropping down from allowance to claiming races that just aren't that good. He's not good in the turf doing it either. And it concerns me a little bit, Gabby.
Well, maybe, and again, they stepped her up to kind of tough first level allowance company, facing winners for the first time. She wasn't well bet. She was 11-1. It looks like a filly. I don't know.
She didn't run that badly last time. She ran better than a $16,000 claiming race last time.
I agree, but
she's getting claimed today.
But this is why the barn wins at 26%,
Yep.
because they're so aggressive with their horses.
No, I agree. But it's still at 26%. And they probably have a negative ROI in those situations, so you have to be leery. Highland Warrior got a lousy trip last time. I thought the 5 has a chance here. El Cangaro, I would love to have bet the 4 El Cangaro. This horse had about as bad a trip as you could possibly get last time, and actually ran all right. I'm just afraid he's not good enough anyway, but he is a throw-in.
We shall see. I also used the 12 Starship Frontier in those in the pick 6 as well. Luis Saez stays aboard after narrowly being defeated last time out, and it was an okay performance. It almost looks as if he didn't finish up very strongly, and he stays at the same distance. I almost would have preferred if he might have cut back to the mile or the 7.5.
He's also got 4 seconds in his 13s, and he's been some short prices, so I just was a little afraid he wasn't good enough to keep getting it done.
Okay, we'll take a look at race 10, maiden 12,500, onto the main track at the 1-turn mile. And these are the types of races where if you're not too careful, they kick you out of multis. Like
just make sure that we have time left to discuss that last race and show that replay.
So we'll breeze through this one.
The 10 looks like the horse to beat. Flowers for Lisa, coming out of a race that Don't Make Me Cry won here the other day in a desperate photo to stay alive in a pick 5 that I blew anyway.
It's tough. Joe Sharp, he's good with maiden claimers. He's got a high percentage and still a positive ROI. That's the main reason why I stick with Flowers for Lisa. 6 is definitely a viable option. This horse is dropping in class significantly from maiden special weight technically company at Gulfstream Park West down to the lower level.
Yeah, I mean, that's what it's really like a maiden special to maiden claimer drop on the dirt, because the maiden claiming race was on the turf. I'm not in love with this horse. She saw the same things I do. I wanted an alternative to 10. They're the 2 I'm going to try to get through the race with.
I also don't mind the 4. They all come home getting added distance and getting a slight class relief. I like the fact that they give this horse added distance and the blinkers come off. Always a very savvy angle.
Certainly a horse who can win.
We'll take a look at the 11th and final race on the card. Maiden $25,000 event. 6 furlongs on the main track. Scratch the 4. Little big girl in here. And I like this race a little bit. I think it's tricky.
I do too.
I think it's very tricky, and I like that it's the last race of the pick 6 and the pick 5 as well. How did you see this one?
I had a lot of fun with this race too, and I'm going to use your top choice. I'll let you talk about Miss Stardust, but let's go to replay, and we're going to show you the start of Just My Game's debut. Now, she's the 7, and she is going to get she's going to come in and get bumped. She'll cause the bumping at the start, but now watch happens. They just completely saw her off after that. So we'll show you, well, we didn't show them from the gate, but you can see her. She's in the white all the way on the outside, so you can't really see that she broke about a length slow, and I don't need to show that much of the race. The point is, we don't know that she doesn't actually have some speed, and this is a fairly even pace, and even with the trouble, she's projected to be relatively close to the pace, and I think there's a chance she's a real speed horse, and I just want to give her another chance after all that trouble, because even though she didn't run at the end, she didn't completely pack it in, and she showed enough run after the trouble that I think she could be forwardly placed. I want to take a shot with her.
All right, well, we shall see. The only thing that I kind of looked at in recency, her works have kind of been on the slower side as well. So will she be fast coming out of the gate? It's an unknown. And at 20-1 with Kathleen O'Connell, I think you're very clever with trying to take a stab at it.
I mean, the question is, Miss Stardust, who I have on my ticket and you have on the top, do we have any confidence that she has any ability at all?
No.
I'm not, and I'm using her too, but
no, not at all. This horse could very easily finish last.
Right,
she could finish last. But that's why she's 10-1 or higher. You're going to get a decent price, and she's a sneaky horse, because when she debuted, it was obviously as a 2-year-old going against maiden special weight company, 4.5 furlongs. Obviously, they don't post buyer speed figures for that, and I think that honestly might be another reason why she'll get overlooked, because then she ran a 0 last time out, was beaten 36 lengths. In her debut, though, it wasn't an awful race, to be honest. She showed a little bit of encouragement coming out of the gate. Yes, she flattened out, but the winner went on to finish some good races against Restricted Stakes Company. I believe was a pair of seconds against Restricted Stakes Company, facing Allowance Optional Claiming Company as of late. So it was a much tougher race than what she's facing here today. Last time out, completely throw it out. She's by Pomeroy out of a Warfront mare. I think she's going to like the main track, and plus she posted a bullet workout on the December 28th.
Oh, she definitely figures to be at least reasonably well closer to the pace. I'm not sure, but I think if there was a buyer speed figure for her debut, it would have been tough for her to reach 20. So maybe you wanted that fig in there because it might have helped you there. I'm throwing in
That could
Saratoga
win
Angel who
this race.
gets a jockey change. They never enter this horse in the dirt. I agree. This is a real crapshoot, this race, and hopefully one of us is going to be mildly clever.
The 2 Scotland Bay, I think, is one you have to use. Was well bet when faced maiden $35,000 company at Gulfstream Park West sprinting, and now does take the cut back. She showed. I did think that the break took a toll on this filly's performance because I thought she would be closer to the pace early. She broke awkwardly a little bit sideways, and then there was really no follow through from there. Today, I think she'll be sitting in that stalking trip, and she very well could win on experience and class here.
Yeah, and just the fact that she can run a little bit, and maybe the others can't, but hopefully one of our horses can run.
We shall see. With that said, I think we're out of time. 11:35. We're going to take a quick break. We'll be back for the start of the card in race 1. But before then, Larry Comas will be up shortly with scratches and changes. Best of luck.